Hello class, today we are still working on solving word problems. So the essential question is, how do I write equations and solve word problems? Your learning intention. I'm learning to write equations and solve word problems. So you've got to find the slope in these two given situations. So the first one is the roof that is in the picture, and the second one is between 2 points. Please pause the video and see if you can find those two slopes now. Well, I do hope you tried. We know that slope is rise over run. So if we create that right triangle, the slope on this half of the roof will be positive, and the slope on the other half will be negative. So I go up 1, 2, 3. I go right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, on this in this case, it is a negative slope. So if I create that right triangle, here's my right triangle. I go down 1, 2, 3. Guess how many I'm going to go right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the slope on the roof, that would also be called the pitch of the roof. When it goes up and when it goes down, they are opposites. They're the same fraction, but they are opposites. Okay, what about between these 2 points? Right up here is your formula. Can you apply the formula? We've got x, y, x, y. Does it matter which one you start with? No. Your slope will not change depending on the endpoint you start with. So this will be negative 10 minus negative 25 over negative 1 minus negative 6. I started at the second point this time. Do we minus the negative? Nope, we plus that positive. Negative 10 plus 25 is 15. 25 minus 10 is 15. Negative 1 plus 6 is 5. 6 minus 1 is 5. 15 divided by 5 is 3. So our slope in this case is 3. Okay, so we're still working on word problems, which means we do a lot of reading, we have to do a lot of thinking, and we have to set up our equation and solve. For the first one, Julia wants to buy tulip bulbs to plant. Each bulb costs 50 cents. There is a one-time shipping fee of $4.50. How many bulbs can she buy with $22? Okay, so each bulb costs 50 cents. There's a one-time fee of $4.50, and she's got a total of $22. So let's set up our equation. The cost of each bulb, well, what are we going to use for our variable? B will stand for the bulbs. So 0.50 bulbs plus $4.50 has got to be less than or equal to $22. It might not come out as a nice whole number, so we've got to have a number that is less than or equal to $22. What is our first step to solving? Well, I'm going to subtract $4.50 from both sides. $0.50b is less than or equal to. What is 22 minus $4.50? Well, it'll be 50 cents. And it'll be 21 minus 4, which will give me 17. So, always check your math with a calculator if you're not sure. $17.50, I got it correct. What is our last step to solving? Well, we're going to divide both sides by 0.50. Normally, if it was a fraction 1/2, we would multiply by the reciprocal. In this case, I'm going to take 17.50 and divide by 0.50, and I end up with 35. I'm going to put it at the bottom here. I've got plenty of room. Okay, normally when you are working with real life situations, you don't come out with nice whole numbers. In this case, what do we know about the 35? Julia can buy 35 tulip bulbs. Okay, and this, if you wanted to buy something, you'd have to realize how, with the amount of money you have, how many you can buy. So for the next one, the total you charge for a yearly internet DVD rental membership is $231. A registration fee of $12 or $15 is paid up front, and the rest is paid in monthly installments. How much do you pay each month for the year? So you're on a 1-year contract. The total cost is $231. You've got a registration fee of $15. The rest is paid in monthly installments. How much do you pay each month? So, we need a variable. We're looking at how much you pay each month. Shall we use M for month? And that would actually be the monthly payment. Okay, let's get started. We know that the total is $231. And that's equal to, well, how many months are in a year? 12. 12 times the number, the monthly payment, plus your registration fee of $15. How do we solve? Step 1. Subtract $15 from both sides. Okay, 231 minus $15 is 200. 31 minus 15 is 16. Is equal to your 12 monthly payments. Last step is to divide by 12. Okay, this time I'm not going to try to work it out in my head. I am going to check my math though. 231 minus 15 is equal to 216, so that was right. Now, I have to take and divide that number by 12, and I get $18. But what does that mean? Well, it means the monthly fee will be $18. Okay, if you're still struggling, back up the video and listen to the first part again. Oh, we're cooking peanut butter banana bread. Bev is making peanut butter banana bread. She always doubles the amount of nuts and peanut butter chips. The total amount of chips and nuts after doubling is 4.5 cups. Write and solve an equation to find the original amount of nuts in the recipe. So if we're looking down here, we take 1.5 cups of peanut butter chips plus some number of nuts, and we end up with 4.5 cups. Okay, now there's different ways we can work with this. We can change our fractions into decimals because we know 1/2 is 0.5, and that will make it maybe a little bit easier to work with. Or we can leave it as fractions and change them into improper fractions. Well, let's use improper fractions to get that practice. So we know that 2 times the original part, which is 1 1/2 cups of peanut butter, plus some number of nuts, we'll use N for nuts, is equal to 4 1/2 cups. Okay, so the N stands for the amount of nuts. Now there's 2 things I've got to convert, 1 1/2, and I've got to convert 4/2. So if I'm thinking about this, 1 1/2 is equal to how many over 2? 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 more is 3. 4 1/2 cup is equal to how many half cups? 2 times 4 plus 1 is 9. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 more is 9. Okay, let's rewrite using our improper fractions. 2 times 3/2 plus n is equal to 9/2. Okay, I've multiplied by 2. What is the opposite of multiplying by 2? Well, normally I would divide by 2, but I've got a fraction. So I am going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 1/2. Okay, I'm multiplying by that reciprocal. 3/2 plus some number is equal to 9/4. Okay, now it's time to solve. I've got to get my numbers to the same side, so I'm going to subtract 3/2. Okay, now I see another problem. I've got 9/4 and I've got 3/2 that I'm subtracting it from. So my question is, how do I convert? Which one do I convert? And how do I do it? So 4 is divisible by 2. 4 goes into 2, or 2 goes into 4 2 times. So I'm going to take 9 over 4 is equal to some number. And I want it over 2. Other way around, 3 over 2 is equal to something over 4. Whoops. 3 over 2 is equal to something over 4. I multiply by 2 down here, by 2 up here, and it's 6 over 4. So I'm subtracting 6 over 4. Okay, I've eliminated my fraction here. And n is equal to 9 over 4 minus 6 over 4. 9 minus 6 is 3 over 4. So what was the original, what does the n stand for? The amount of nuts. So the original amount of nuts was 3/4 of a cup. Okay, that gave us really good practice on using fractions, and that's what we need to do. So if you're looking at the next one is found on a lot of standard-based quizzes or tests that are high-stakes testing like ACT, SAT. To convert to degrees Fahrenheit, use the formula, use this formula, F is equal to 9 divided by 5, C plus 32, where C is the temperature for the degrees Celsius. Solve for C. So first thing we do is rewrite it. Now we're going to solve. We need to move the number to the other side. So I'll subtract 32 from both sides. I didn't put it underneath the F because they're not the same. F minus 32, and that's F degrees, is equal to 9 over 5 C. That's Celsius. Now what? What is the reciprocal of 9 over 5? 5 over 9. So 5/9 times your Fahrenheit degree minus 32 is equal to your degrees in Celsius. Could we distribute the 5 over 9? We could. But in this case, we know that 32 is not divisible by 9, so we'll end up with a not so nice fraction. So we'll just leave it the way it is because it makes it into a nice equation. Okay, at the farmer's market, the cost of $2 for 5 apples or 70 cents for 1 apple. Which is a better buy if you want to buy 5 apples? Explain why. So we know that $2 for 5 apples, 70 cents for 1 apple. And better buy, and explain. Okay, so if I pick up five apples, it'll cost me $2. So the cost per apple, $2 divided by 5, will give me 0.40, which is 40 cents per apple. This is 70 cents for one. So, if you buy 5 apples, you will save 30 cents per apple. Okay, and 30 cents times 5 is $1.50. So if you buy them in groups of 5 instead of in groups of 1, you'll save $1.50. Okay, the last one is renting a car, and I've done this before. How many miles could you drive if you rent a car from Ray's Car Rental and you only have $75? So I'm looking, all cars are $35 per day plus a 7 cents per mile fee. So we need a variable. What's our variable going to be? M for miles, number of miles. Sounds good. Okay, so you've got, what is the cost? You start off with $35 plus 0.07 per mile, and that number has got to be less than or equal to the $75 you have. Okay, how do we solve? We start by subtracting 35 from both sides. So, it's gone here. 0.07 M is less than or equal to $40. What's my last step? Divide by 0.07. Again, I will use a calculator for this because it's easier. 40 divided by 0.07. And I end up with 571 miles and 0.42. So, can I go to 572 miles? No. I have to round down. Maybe. Need to change that around and get it written right. So the number of miles I can drive has got to be less than or equal to 571.43. Can we go 0.43 of a mile? Not very easy. So, what do I know? You can drive 571 miles or less on $75. Okay, how do you know you're successful? You know you're successful when you can write equations and solve word problems. So we're working on word problems again today.